Hello, Stitchers. Thank you for listening to Stitch Please, the Black Women Stitch podcast, the sewing group where Black Lives Matter. At Stitch Please, we talk a lot about sewing and the elements of our craft. We wanted to take a moment to share briefly with you about the ways in which Black women stitch is an important part of our past, present, and future. In the past, from the earliest days of our nation, enslaved women supplemented their meager rations using their artful imagination for repair and adornment. Generations later, these women turned flour sacks into dresses and worn-out overalls into quilts, some of which can now be seen on display at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. In addition, sewing circles at churches and community centers were vibrant places for Black women to connect and celebrate each other. Today, the presence of Black women stitch can still be felt, with Black women sewing teachers, mentors, influencers, historians, and artists. These women are possibility models for new and exciting ways to engage in crafting, such as embroidery, quilting, and apparel sewing. In addition, there are sewing groups on Instagram and Facebook that bring Black women together from around the world to sit and stitch and chat. And we can also catch glimpses of the future of Black women stitch with Black women-owned sewing venues, magazines, Black women pattern makers, fabric artists, and fabric vendors, and I humbly include this podcast, Stitch Please, as well as our group, Black Women Stitch. Because of these and other creative expressions of Black women, we imagine an ever brighter future for Black women sewing. Tune in next week for an episode called Pressing Matters. Yes, that's the sound of my iron. We'll talk in general and specific terms about the difference between pressing and ironing, and we'll spill the tea about a perennial question: how to get that pattern back in that envelope. So listen, rate, review, subscribe to Stitch Please. Follow Black Women Stitch on Instagram. Follow Stitch Please on Facebook. In addition, you are invited to our weekly chat on the Black Women Stitch Instagram page, which takes place on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tune into the podcast, find us on the socials, and come and get your stitch together.